Hello, that's a bit of an abrupt stop of the music. Hi, everybody, and good morning. Thank you for tuning in to today's Tree Law TV Live. Um, the purpose of today is to have a chat about what I've learned setting up Tree Law, given that I've just hit a 2-year anniversary. Every time you hit an anniversary, people message you on LinkedIn, congratulations on your work anniversary. And actually, I was surprised this year, hitting 2 years, the number of congratulations I got on that. Couple that together with people saying to me, how did you set your business up? Why did you do it? How's it going? What are the issues, etc., etc. I thought it would be a great idea to just do a little bit of a chat, me talking about what I've learned, what I've experienced over the first 2 years. That's a little intro for today. So hi, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sarah Dodd. I'm the founder, director and owner of Tree Law. Tree Law is a business that specializes in claims involving trees. So that can really be anything. That can be damage caused by trees, protecting trees, campaigning about trees, planning issues, all sorts of things involving trees. When I first tell people that the business is Tree Law and that I call myself the tree hugging lawyer, the initial response is, oh, that's a bit niche. Followed then a couple of minutes later by, oh, but I remember I had an issue with a tree. My neighbor had an issue with a tree. This happened, that happened. And then all of a sudden people realize that perhaps it's a little bit more common than they initially thought. So the business started on the 1st of November 2021. So yeah, just over 2 years ago. In the run up to that, it was probably a good sort of 6 months of getting things prepared to set up, which I did with some support. Yeah, so it's been running since 2021. Now, because it's just me on this morning, I thought I would ask ChatGPT to give me some lovely questions to be able to sort of do a Q&A to myself, to answer some questions about how business has gone over the first 2 years. But if I can just pop up this banner here. So if you've got any questions you want to ask me, then please do pop that up, because your actual question is probably going to be better than a ChatGPT question. If I can answer something that is particularly relevant to you, then obviously that is far more important. So having said all that intro, let's get cracking with the questions. So here we go. So first one then, what inspired me to start my business and how has that initial vision evolved over the past 2 years? I I think I had the thought to start a business, I would say probably about 5 years before I actually did it. And do you know what? That's my biggest regret, that I didn't do this sooner. So that's regret number one, not that that's a question. But I think one of the things that inspired me to actually push the button on it and go ahead with it was tech. Well, I suppose tech and a little bit of the pandemic, and I think they sort of collided in a bit of a perfect storm. Well, not perfect storms, the stars aligned really, because I'd initially thought that it would be too difficult to set up a business by myself. If I needed sort of secretarial support, I needed somebody to manage like the paperwork and the post and things like that. It just seemed too onerous to be able to run an entire business, and needing to outsource all those parts. But I felt that by 2021, the tech had really caught up. So, my entire business is run through my laptop. I have a case management system. It's cloud-based. I don't really need any paper or any sort of archiving system or anything like that. There's sort of online tech support. There's tech support with things like finances. So I use Xero as an accounting package, which makes it really easy to sort of track invoices and debt collection and profit and loss and balance sheets and things like that. So I felt that all the things that I was worried I might have to outsource, a lot of them almost became sort of apps, and I could just use them quite seamlessly in the business. So I think I had that seed of desire about 5 years before I actually did it, and then I think I was inspired to actually do it because it felt like an easier thing to do. Also, as part of that, excuse me, one of the things that I say that I went to that was one of the most inspiring events was I went to an Innovation Futures event in London. I think it was in 2018. I think it was December 2018. And I say that that was one of the most inspiring conferences I've been to in my life. There were lots of businesses there that had started it themselves, and it really showed me a network of people that had already done it. And I heard their stories, and I thought, well, if they can do it, I can do it. So sort of surrounding myself, well, not surrounding myself, but seeing people that had already done it, and thought, oh yeah, it is possible. If they can do it, I can do it. In terms of initial vision, I posted earlier on this week like a snapshot on LinkedIn of my original business plan. Oh my goodness, I know you should probably revisit your business plan on a regular basis, and I do. But going back to the original one and sort of snapshotting the start of that, the initial vision for the business and how it's evolved over the last 2 years is quite different. And when people say to me, has starting up the business been everything that you thought it would be? I think like how can you answer that? Because when you set up a law firm, unless you've done it before, you're stepping into the unknown. It's just like a huge leap of faith, like a step into the abyss. It's like, is it what you thought it was going to be? Well, you can't comprehend what it's going to be. So it is quite funny looking back with that thought and then looking back at my original business plan. Yeah, so definitely something. It's definitely a document that needed some iteration. So that's question one. Question two, looking back, what were the biggest challenges you faced during your first 2 years and how have you overcome them? This is a tricky one because I would say l- almost like everything has been a challenge. Or I would say two of the biggest ones has been building a new network and getting working. Obviously, Tree Law, I am bootstrapping this business. And for those people who don't know what, bootstrapping means, it's I'm, building it and funding it as I'm going along. There is no external, well, apart from personal investment, there's no external financial investment in the business. So basically, the lights stay on from the payment of bills to the work that I'm doing as I'm going along. So obviously that was critical to get that work starting to come in almost immediately. And that is difficult when you're trying to being everything. I was saying yesterday to somebody that I almost like throughout the day, I toggle between being a lawyer, a marketer, an ops manager, a BD person, credit control. You're just being all of those functions in one person. So that's a challenge that I had never faced before. Even as a partner in a law firm before, where I was responsible for a team, responsible for targets, billing, all of that. It's never as holistic as what you're doing when you're running a business, which is responsible for every single part of it. So I would say probably the biggest challenge was getting the work in. So, and how do you get the work in? When you start a business, you get so many people talking to you about, let me get you some quality inbound leads. But you realize that one of the only solid ways to get leads, get clients and get work into the business is creating a profile and a network for yourself and a reputation for yourself. And as a result of that, work will start to come in. So I would say those are two of my biggest challenges, work and network. And obviously creating a new network of people takes time. You've got to find the network that you want to belong to. And I have put myself in situations where I have networked in spaces where, whilst I've enjoyed meeting the people, it wasn't perhaps the right fit for me. Lots of people have recommended certain sorts of networking for me, saying, this worked for my business, so it should work for your business. And yet it didn't. And then I'm thinking, well, what's different about my business? Why is that not working for mine? But then, vice versa, there'll be networking that I do that wouldn't work for their business. So yeah, it's finding, I think the challenge is finding my own groove. There isn't another tree law, so there isn't a method that I can replicate. It's finding my own method. Next question. So we've got here, in what ways has the business grown or expanded since inception, and what do you attribute this growth to? Oh, ChatGPT's chucking out some good questions here. Right, so what ways has the business grown? So 2 years in, the business has grown in terms of revenue. So first year of business, um, in terms of revenue into the second year's doubled. So double the first year's revenue. Now, I'm not saying like, woohoo, money spinner, money spinner. At the moment, this is not, this is startup mode. So those are modest numbers. So from year 1 to 2, a doubling of revenue, it's still modest numbers. But there's absolutely no doubt that it's grown in terms of revenue. So that's business growth. It's grown in terms of diversity of clients, so the sort of clients that Treelaw now works for. It's definitely grown in terms of profile. So the business, I think, now has got a name out there. So across different sectors, whether that's like the insurance sector or the public sector with local authorities, or just generally amongst sort of bigger businesses like, I don't know, commercial landowners, for example. So I think that has significantly grown, and especially in this last, I would say the last sort of 6 to 12 months. And what do I attribute growth to? I feel like I want to say hard work, but not necessarily hard work, like smart work. So having, I think a lot of the things that I've been doing over the last 2 years are not only listening to business developers and marketeers and other lawyers, but I think listening in general to other sort of business and business growth advice. So in terms, for example, like marketing the business, what I realize now is that if I've got different sorts of clients, they need to be marketed to in different sorts of ways for that to be likely to be successful. It's absolutely not a one size fits all approach. It's far from that. I might have different sorts of clients that want to be connected in different sorts of ways. For example, if I wanted to do a drive and get lots of individual homeowners, for example, in as clients, then potentially marketing on things like LinkedIn would be helpful if those people were also, business people connecting on LinkedIn. But, using other social media platforms like Instagram or TikTok to try and attract individuals. But obviously then if you're going onto platforms like TikTok, then you're marketing with people who are in a very different headspace when they see your content. So they're in the headspace to be entertained. So it's then wanting to create some different sort of, I can't do some like black letter law content on TikTok. So it needs to be sort of more entertaining so people sort of get to know me. And that can feel quite difficult because I just wonder, how entertaining can you be as a lawyer? But that aside, businesses like insurance companies, perhaps they would be comfortable to, or they would be in like LinkedIn perhaps as a space. Local authorities or public sector entities, they may not be so much on platforms like that. They may appreciate things like direct contact, newsletters, face-to-face, team training, things like that. So it is realizing that one size fits all absolutely doesn't fit all. Yes. So next question. What have been the memorable success stories or milestones that stand out from the past 2 years? I think so year 1 and year 2 did feel totally different. And I think year 2 felt a lot different because an element of a change in confidence. So just coming out of year 1, so in September last year, I started on the NatWest entrepreneur course. which was a free of charge entrepreneur course, which is run by NatWest. I think there are entrepreneur hubs across the UK. And that was really helpful to, again, give you a new network of people. So it gives you a new network of people with different, at different stages of their business, albeit all businesses tend to be new, different sorts of businesses, dealing with problems, issues, etc., etc. But part of that just opened me up to a group of people who were doing different things. And again, it's like if you can see it, you can sort of try and emulate it. So I was seeing people that were, running events, hosting seminars, and I was just, it sort of planted the seed, and I thought maybe I could do something like that. So I feel one of my most memorable successes was off the back of the confidence that meeting those people at the NatWest Entrepreneur Hub gave me. I decided to put on the Tree Law Summer Seminar Tour. So what that was a 4-location seminar, which I ran across the UK in the summer. Started in Cardiff because Cardiff's my hometown, so I wanted to launch there. Started in Cardiff, then went Cardiff, Birmingham, London, and Leeds. So looking back at that, that feels like a memorable success to have run that tour. I don't have a marketing arm to the business here. I'm not a natural, I would say, like, I'm not a natural party planner. It's not the sort of thing that I love doing, arranging things like that. But it was certainly something that was doable. So I managed to find 4 different locations. I found a network of speakers who were all willing to give their time up to come along and speak at the event, to put on 4 events. I secured sponsorships of different sponsors across the event. So I had Zurich Resilient Solutions sponsoring Cardiff. I had Hillier Nursery sponsoring Birmingham. I had Fortified Grazing Chambers sponsoring London, and Thompson Tree Surgeries Services sponsoring Leeds. So that was a good profile of sponsorship across the events. And I think in the course of that, there were about 100 people came to Cardiff, 50 to Birmingham, 60 or 70 to London, and then 70 or so to Leeds. So it was getting in front of a lot of people. And do you know what? Something clicked to me, which I felt stupid that it clicked only after the seminar tour. When I was, tired after running those four events, it is a lot of hard work, a lot of logistical, organizational hard work putting those on. And I was thinking, like, why has this felt so hard? I was sort of having like a moment of reflection. And then I was thinking, I'm based in Cardiff, based in my home office, but I'm not creating a local Cardiff business. I'm not creating a high street business. So I was thinking why this feels so hard is I'm creating a UK based business. So hosting seminars across the UK was essential, and getting people from those locations who not only knew me but knew of what content I was going to be talking about, thought it was going to be valuable to them, and wanted to come along. That took a while to build up a network who are going to want to do that. And then reflecting back on it, having all those attendees that came along to the conferences really does feel like a big success. It felt like about 2 minutes after the Leeds one finished, someone said to me, "What are we doing for next year?" I was like, "Hold on a second, I've only just finished arranging the first 4." But no, there's absolutely no doubt that I'll do it again next year. I'm not sure what it's going to look like, whether it's going to be 4 locations, whether it's going to be a similar sort of structure, but I will be definitely doing it again next year. So if you came along and you enjoyed it, you want to collaborate and be a speaker, or you want to be a sponsor, then get in touch, because I'm going to be doing it again. One of my goals is I used to live in Newport, and in Newport there is the Celtic Manor Hotel, which is an absolutely gorgeous hotel, and there is the ICC, I think it's the International Convention Centre, I think that's what it's called. It's quite a new convention centre, so it's right on the M4. very close to the M50, so it's very good for sort of Wales and the West. And they have a conference suite there called the Woodland Suite. So there's a huge view on floor to ceiling windows of the woodlands. So I just, in my mind, I just think that'd be a perfect location. So I'll have to see if I can set one up there. So next question. So what strategies have proven the most effective in marketing and promoting the business to reach a wider audience? This is a good one because I don't claim that I have got this nailed at all. I really enjoy the marketing part of BD and growing the business. You know, I've enjoyed creating a visual identity. I've enjoyed getting comfortable on different sorts of platforms like LinkedIn, YouTube, what else, like TikTok, creating blogs. Is that what they're called? Yeah, blogs. But it's difficult to track the ones that have been most effective. I think I have to say that it is a combination of LinkedIn and YouTube. Over a year ago, I walked into a conference and someone said, "Oh, it's the girl from YouTube." So that must be effective. I think what I wanted to do with my YouTube channel, Treelord TV, if anyone hasn't found it, so do like and subscribe. I wanted to put out some content which quite selfishly was just answering the questions I was getting asked all the time. So I thought if I could just create some content, so if I get asked the question, I can just send somebody a link to the video. It not only answers that question, but might answer any other questions that they might have. It would just, you know, be useful and actually save me some time. But there's no doubt about it that, you know, YouTube is an incredibly important platform to be on if you want to be creating a presence and growing your business. As part of that as well, so the London Treelord seminar, all of those videos were recorded. I had an amazing media company came and videoed the whole thing, Baked Bean Media, and all of that is on my YouTube channel. So that is on slightly closed part of the YouTube channel. But if you are interested in seeing it, then get in touch and I can send you the links. So you can watch them. So I think the most effective marketing, the strategies that have been most effective for me have been LinkedIn, YouTube, and then no doubt the face-to-face conferences. But when you're doing stuff like conferences, any sort of marketing, people will say, like, what's the return on investment? And I feel for me, that has been quite hard to track. So, you know, return from investment is not neat. So it's not like I did a conference, a week later, 3 people sent me a case. Therefore, the return on investment equals the revenue being brought in from those 3 cases versus the cost of that conference. Absolutely, you know, it's just not that straightforward. In terms of return on investment, I think it's more like the intangibles. So, you know, reputation, presence, things like that, which I think will generate work in the months and years to come, but it's more difficult to sort of say this piece of content or this activity created this amount of work. And the sort of I suppose the lawyer in me finds that sort of intangible thing quite hard to sort of settle into and get comfortable with, but there's just no doubt that that's what it's like. So how do you prioritize innovation and stay ahead of industry trends to remain competitive in the market? This is a good one, prioritizing innovation, staying ahead of trends. This, I think, first of all, to prioritize innovation, I think you've got to be open to it. So you have to be listening and looking and recognizing things that could be cropping up and could be innovative. Like, for example, I've said these questions, this sort of interview format has just been me generating questions on ChatGPT. So I wouldn't have done that a year ago. I wouldn't have really known about ChatGPT or used it. And I know that's only one tiny example. But I think it is listening and being aware of things that are cropping up, not only in your space, but in other spaces as well, things that interest you, things that like pique your interest, but also things that don't interest you, things that scare you, perhaps, and trying to learn about them and get comfortable with them. Um, because I think as a business owner, it's me and the business at the moment, apart from the non-executive director team. So it's very easy to create a sort of an echo chamber where it's me with the people in my network that I like, doing the things that I like, and not really exposing myself to things that might challenge my business, things that I don't like, things that frighten me, things that might need to take the business in a different direction. So it's getting comfortable with trying to listen out and understand innovations that are coming that perhaps you don't really want to come. Um, so yeah, so I also prioritize them by seeing what other people in my networks are doing. So I am part of the Lawscape network, which is run by Alice Stevenson. And when there was an event this week talking about document automation. Now that isn't something that I feel that I'm anywhere near ready for or need at all in my business at the moment. But it is really interesting to see what's out there, to see what innovation's happening, because I am likely to want to use it in the future. And I might as well create a business that's got that in its future rather than thinking, well, that's not relevant to me, so I'm just going to ignore it for the moment. So staying ahead of industry trends. One of the good things about being a small business, and this feels like a cheesy word to use, is being able to be agile. It's just me. I have no legacy systems. I've got no sort of legacy pipeline that I need to, run off in a certain sort of way. So one of the ways that I can be innovative and stay ahead of industry trends is just be ready to change. I could flick a switch and change something overnight, and I could be done, changed, and heading in a different direction. So that is a huge advantage of being a small business. Coming up to the last couple of minutes, have we got, I think, oh, this is the last slide. Great timing. What are the goals and aspirations for next year, and how do you plan to achieve them? Do you know what? That's a good question. And I was referring earlier to me having looked back at my original business plan. And I should set myself some goals and targets for this year. And I do have overarching goals and targets for the business. And I'm starting to put together quarterly goals as well, to start striving and driving the business forward into year 3. But I think goals and aspirations for the business has got to be to grow the business. So as I said, revenue stream doubled from year 1 into year 2. A double again would be very welcome and very doable at the current size. So that would be a financial goal. Also, running a business is by yourself can feel I say lonely. Like it can be difficult having been working in teams and with colleagues, to be working by yourself. So there's absolutely no doubt that one of the big plans for the business would be growth. Growing the business, whether that's growing it with a senior member or growing it with some sort of junior team members or members that can help take off things like operational support and marketing support, things like that. I also need to think about how I do want to grow the business. Lots of people on here will know that businesses grow with not necessarily by taking on employees, but by taking on consultants who who align with the business values and want to work with the business. So that is always an option for me going into year 3, is to collaborate with people that want to come in as consultants. So shout out to anybody who that might pique your interest. Do feel free to get in touch. Well, I think, yeah, that's come to the end of the questions with absolutely perfect timing, not practiced at all. Do you know what? This has really helped me make some reflections. I think as a business of one, and not being able to have, I haven't had like an annual review or a face-to-face or a one-to-one, whatever they're called. It's really good to sit down, reflect on the business, and actually speak it out loud. Because I think when you speak it out loud, almost it makes it easier for you to take in and to hear. So Yeah, thank you for your interest in the business and for helping me make these reflections. Anyone got any questions, then feel free to get in touch. I'm always happy to help anyone that's thinking about embarking on a similar journey. I had loads of support from people in my network when I was launching my business. So I'm really, really keen and passionate to offer that support to others. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you. Bye. Bye.